It would appear that, at least in the US, courts are now more receptive than ever to arguments about the pandemic. Underscoring this point, amazing news broke Tuesday. New York's Richmond County Superior Court ordered workers who'd been fired for being unvaccinated to be reinstated with back pay, explaining being vaccinated does not prevent an individual from contracting or transmitting COVID-19, and adding that the mandates were really more about compliance than public health. Not my thoughts or sentiments, YouTube. These are the courts. First off, the court found that the city's injection mandate was irrational because employees were allowed to keep working right up until they were terminated. Quoting the court, all but one of the petitioners applied for exemptions from the mandate. They received vague and generalized denials. During that time their exemptions were being processed, they remained unvaccinated. There was no reason they could not continue to submit to testing and continue to fulfill their duties as public employees. There was no reason the City of New York could not continue with a vaccinate or test policy. The vaccination mandate for public and private employees is arbitrary and capricious. Ouch! Next, the courts observed what a lot of critics of the way government has handled things have been saying from the beginning. The simple fact that the emergencies are by definition temporary and short-lived and not to be stretched out into eternity and beyond. Quoting the court, states of emergency are meant to be temporary. The question presented is whether the health commissioner has the authority to enact a permanent condition of employment during a state of emergency. This court finds the health commissioner does not have that authority, and that the petitioners herein should not have been terminated for their failure to comply with the commissioner's order during a temporary state of emergency. Next off, the court weighed in on the feasibility and sensibility of mandates, noting that the mandates don't make any sense because the injections don't protect other workers since they don't prevent transmission of the virus. Not my words, YouTube. These are the courts once again. Being vaccinated does not prevent an individual from contracting or transmitting COVID-19. As of the day of this decision, CDC guidelines regarding quarantine and isolation are the same for vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals. The petitioner should not have been terminated for choosing not to protect themselves. Finally, the court shredded any remaining justification for the mandates in the first place as a safety matter, noting that the mandates have never made sense as an issue of safety. Quoting the court, the vaccination mandate for city employees was not just about safety and public health. It was about compliance. If it was about safety and public health, unvaccinated workers would have been placed on leave the moment the issue was ordered. If it was about safety and public health, the health commissioner would have issued citywide mandates for vaccination for all residents. We shouldn't be penalizing people who showed up to work at great risk to themselves and their families while we were being locked down. If it was about safety and public health, no one would be exempt. It's time for the City of New York to do what is right, what is just. The terminated petitioners are thereby reinstated to their full employment status effective November 25th, 2022 at 6 a.m. Now, every time another decision like this comes down, it creates precedents, and the body of available case law grows. With each decision handed down, lawyers now have more ammunition to use against the mandates. These decisions, while being important in addressing the injustice of what has occurred, are equally important in combating mandated contemplated in the future. To fully address the root of the problem, however, what we ultimately need is for the elimination of vaccine liability protection and putting vaccines on an equal footing with other drugs. If any drug, vaccine or not, injures someone, the manufacturer should compensate that person for their injury, not their fellow taxpayers through the government. While the original intent behind the vaccine liability shields, which was to encourage companies to make vaccine without fear of reprisals if and should the vaccine not prove to be 100% safe and effective, given what we've lived through over the past 2.5 years with manufacturers being less than transparent and forthcoming, to me, at least, it's time to have a conversation about whether the shields are still needed, about what unanticipated problems have arisen due to the shields, and finally about how vaccine-injured people have been left high and dry. Anyway, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Please post any comments you have in the comment section. You can also follow me on my Rumble and my Locals account, and I will see you next time. And if you're a new subscriber, please check out the other videos. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.